no decisions can be perfect. Yes, we always want things to go the way we want. We enjoy the peak only when we've seen the lowest. If you're not focusing on yourself, on your own growth, you will never attract those people from the external world to come and connect with you. So the connection is very, very, very important. Never judge a book by its cover, right? Clients have a God. You should always respect them. When you are happy, when you're grateful, when you're contented, you tend to attract a lot more. It's easy to sell, but it's difficult to build a relationship. Get away from people who are energy drainers, I call them, who will keep pulling you down, and surround yourself with people who are very, very positive. Growth is humble.
I'm your host Gaurav Garg, and we welcome all our viewers to our show Amazing Mentor. Today with us is Mr. Inder. He is founder of RK Real Estate. RK Real Estate is a RERA certified company established in September 2012. In the next 5 years, RK Real Estate visions itself to offer service beyond excellence, thereby qualify them as Dubai's most professional real estate agency. He believes that our objectives are attainable because of the values they possess. As founder of RK Real Estate, Mr. Inder has many awards in her kitty, like International Peace Award 2018, Social Work, Top 100 Influential Asian in UAE by Masala magazine, Top Selling Agent 2009, First Home Real Estate, and many more. It's a pleasure to welcome Mr. Inder to our show, Amazing Mentor. Welcome, sir.
Thank you, Gaurav, for having me here today. It's indeed a privilege to be a part of your show.
Same here. Thanks for giving us the time. So tell us about your childhood and any particular childhood memory that you would like to share on our show.
Well, I was born in India, Mumbai, and I grew up here in Dubai. And being in the real estate for the past almost about 15 years, I still recollect those days of living in the old side of Dubai and remember how we grew up when we were kids. So one of my most memorable, joyous thing I would say I would remember of was back in the days we had those vending machines where you put a coin and then you press the button and the Pepsi can or the Coke can would come out. I think Dubai back then was really beautiful. I think less was more back then.
So what about your schooling?
I was born in Bombay. I grew up in Dubai, so I did my schooling here. I was in Indian high school and then I went to another school because I was a dropout from my first school and they could not let me continue there. Then I went to the other school based on sports because I was a top player in soccer and they took me on the sports quota. Back in the days we had those sports quotas and all those things. So I went to another school and then I graduated from there and then thereafter joined my university here in Dubai, which was Middlesex, at the UK branch here.
So when I say school, what is that particular memory that strikes your mind?
There are plenty of them, but there's one particular memory which I think kind of changed my life and I would like to share that with you. So my brother being an ace student and me being number one, but from the end, we were poles apart. So when I was in the second school, I was very, very notorious and I would only focus on my sports. And my mindset was that why should I study throughout the year when these exams holds no value and I just need to pass during the board exams. So during that whole year, I would, trouble my teachers, my friends in the school, just wanted to play and that's about it. And sometimes bunk the school. So I was sitting in the class and I get a message from the peon that the headmaster would like to see you in the boardroom. So I was like, okay, I don't know, maybe it's for sports or they want to give me a certificate or something. And I was very happy and I went downstairs and I opened the door. So teachers from KG, first, second, third, fourth, up to 11th, 12th grade, except my teacher who was in that class and a few others were not there. I could see everyone sitting there and I'm just looking around and I see my counselor and I was just puzzled. I'm like, all the teachers are here. Why am I being called? And they told me, congratulations. I said, wow, what is it for? They said, you have a very long holiday. I said, okay, that's very interesting. And what is the holiday for? He said, well, you've been terminated. So you cannot come to school for the next 2 months. And I was like, I have my pre-boards exams. And I said, sorry, you cannot come to school for the next 2 months. And we will let you know if you can appear straight for the boards or not. So, if you know, like 12th, 10th and 12th are the most important period for CBSE students, because that's how your college life has been decided, like where you can join in and which college you can go to based on the grades. And yeah, that was the most funniest and the most horrific when I heard 2 months holiday. But yeah, I enjoyed it and I excelled with 78%.
So what was that notorious thing?
Oh, plenty of them. I would put in needles under my teacher's chair. I would put in chewing gums. Just wouldn't let anyone study. So I would love to laugh and make people laugh. And when everybody was having fun, they were like, yay, it's a great class and it's good to have him here. But the moment if, the teacher is like, okay, look, I had enough. Who's the one creating nuisance in the class? And they were like, yeah, that's him. So I think it was, for me, the whole purpose was to enjoy my time, even when I was like in school. So it was never been like, oh, I have to be focused on studying. It was just more of, studying plus enjoy my time as well, because those days will never come back. And many years down the line, you ask me that question. So those memories still make me smile.
So what was your dream profession as a child?
My dream profession, I never had one, to be very honest. And so my father is a sheer businessman, and he's been in the textile industry for the past 40 years. Came from a very humble beginning. So back in the days, all we were focused on to do was, because we didn't have technology that time, there was no WhatsApp, we had Nokias, no high-tech phones. So didn't even get the opportunity to visualize that much when I was 14, 15 years old. And as soon as I passed out from school, I still had no clue what I'd be doing. So my father being a businessman, Sindhi background, we had to do something. You cannot just pass out from school and chill. That was not the concept which my family would ever follow. So I had to do something. Till the time I turned 18, I still had no clue what I wanted to do. But at the same time, yes, I wanted to earn money, but in which direction to go to, I was totally clueless. So I started working in a supermarket. I started working in a shoe shop. I've done a lot of various other jobs. And then later I joined my father's business. Post that, I was with him for about 8 months. And that was the time I realized that's not my cup of tea. And then I shifted to real estate. And yeah, I never looked back after that.
So what was the reaction of your parents on your first job?
My mom was crying because it was, I was getting paid about 500 dirhams per month. And so my father is a man of discipline and principles. And all he said was, if you want money for food, shelter, and education, that too a basic education. If you want something very luxurious, because I know you're not going to study, I'm not going to pay for that. But these three things, I will take care of it. Anything else which is luxurious, I'm not going to do anything for it. So him being a businessman, so my brother joined his business and he was working, he started getting successful, started earning, started going out with his friends, spending, but I didn't have that power because I wasn't earning. So when I joined a supermarket, I was getting only 500 dirhams. So my parents came to visit me on a weekend to see me standing at, it's still there, it's in Mall of the Emirates, it's called Carrefour. It's still there, the TV stand, and I was selling TVs for Sony. And my mom walks in and she looks at me, she starts crying. So my dad is like, why are you crying? She's like, you're not giving him extra pocket money and look what he has to do. So my dad is like, let him do what he wants to do. Let him learn the harder way. So I had both mixture of hard and soft. My dad being super strict and hard, my mom being very soft. So I think that gave me a very good blend as to how I could move forward with that. So my mom was pretty upset, but then my dad would calm her down, saying that this is how we want our boys, to learn in life. So don't cry, don't be soft, you got to be strict, but mom being mom. So yeah.
So where did you started your career journey from, and what all challenges did you face in the starting of your career?
So my career started from a supermarket. I had one thing in mind, which I realized as my talent was, I was always a people's person. So be it school, be it even college, wherever it would be, I was always a people's person. I would love to have people around me. So I started picking up jobs where, it would match my passion of meeting and connecting with people, because that's the only ladder I could think of that time. And in fact, it's the same at the moment as well, because the more you connect, the more you learn, the more you grow. So when I started working in a supermarket, I would meet someone with a salary of 1,000 dirhams. I would meet a millionaire. So different backgrounds, different caste, religion, statuses, different languages also. So how they would treat me, an Indian, an Australian, and a French, a German, a local. So I learned a lot. So my first job was the supermarket, and then I did various other small jobs here and there. So my focus was never the money. Though, yes, I wanted to get the luxuries of life back then. But when I started working, I started realizing how hard it was. Then my focus came off.
So who is your mentor?
Of my dad, hands down, my dad, yeah.
So any decision or action you regret?
If I look back, I wouldn't say regrets. I believe in the journey of my work life, the decisions I've made, and I'm glad I've made those decisions. And that's the reason I'm here where I am today. No decisions can be perfect. Yes, we always want things to go the way we want. But again, there's a right time for everything. And as long as you have the vision, you have the passion, you keep falling and keep waking up, keep falling and keep waking up. So it's a cycle. So in terms of my decisions, no, I do not regret any of my decisions. But if I had to think about doing something which I'm doing now, if I could have done it earlier, that would be more of gaining a lot of knowledge, reading a lot of books, meeting a lot of high flyers, people who are very, very successful. So I've been learning a lot from them. But there's something which I recently started doing, it is studying a lot of books, which I think it's not a regret. Again, I think there's a time for everything, because back then, I was in a different lifestyle, and now things have changed after a certain age. But yes, if I would have been able to blend what I'm doing right now, back then, I think I would have opened my mind. My thoughts would have been a lot more different. So no regrets, but just if would have been done, would have been better, but still happy where I am today.
So what's that one thing you love about real estate profession?
I love a lot of things, but my topmost thing is I meet a lot of people from different walks of life. So I meet a millionaire who acts in a different manner. I meet a billionaire who's very, very humble. I meet people who are not even a millionaire, but they tend to be a billionaire. So get to learn a lot from these people. So I think this industry has taught me a lot. Money is, for me, I think it's secondary, but primary is I've learned a lot as an individual. For me, personal growth is very, very important. So I think whenever I go to, show properties to people around, my focus is, yes, the end goal is to sell and to make money. But at the same time, I get very excited to see who I'm going to meet, how they behave, their body language. So that helps me a lot to develop myself. Being in Dubai, we have so many different nationalities. We've got Indians, Arabs, French, Germans, Europeans, Americans. So not everybody is the same. Everybody has a different mindset, different culture of, speaking. When I meet different people, I come back at the end of the day and I'm like, what did I learn today? So for me, I evaluate my growth that way. Selling, yes, that's a part of my business, and that will eventually happen. But most importantly is when I meet people. So that excites me a lot on a daily basis.
So you have vast experience of 20 plus great years. How is your journey till date?
Amazing. It keeps evolving. I think everything adds to how one visualizes and how one sets the goal. Setting goals is very, very important. Having a vision is very, very important. And journey has been amazing so far. It has been a roller coaster ride, no doubt. But I think that ride is also very, very important, just to realize, we say that we enjoy the peak only when we've seen the lowest, right? And then when you come down, then you feel how it is to be on the peak. So to get back up on the peak again, you know what you got to do. So when you're here, when you start going up, when you come down, and you start realizing what's the feeling here. So when you're here, you're not going to be demotivated. You're going to go back up to get that feeling again. So I think it's just a journey of life is much needed. I mean, if you have a stagnant happiness, you're going to get bored. I mean, I wouldn't say bored is the right term for it, but you wouldn't value that happiness if you don't see the sadness. So yeah, journey has been amazing so far. No complaints at all. And Dubai has been great. So Dubai has been a blessing for me.
So what all lesson have you learned in your professional journey?
In my professional journey, one biggest lesson I've learned is never judge a book by its cover. Point number 2 is when we start our journey of entrepreneurship, represents ourselves as entrepreneurs into any new business, we often start expecting things from the outer world, that they should be dealing with us and they should be buying goods from us, or that's a basic expectation one has. But what I've learned is that if you're not focusing on yourself, on your own growth, you will never attract those people from the external world to come and connect with you. So the connection is very, very, very important. So you would have the best product, but if you don't know how to sell that product, what's the point? So knowledge and personal growth, self-development is very, very important. I mean, I've met people from my industry, they've done really well in their perspective, and now they've just relaxed. It all depends what excites you. It all depends how you want to see your journey. How do you want to plan your journey? So in my opinion, yes, money, it is important, but I've also experienced this when I was younger. I started working at the age of 16. Money was everything for me. And I would certainly chase anything that would bring in money. So in that chase, I lost myself. If you remember in the previous question, I mentioned that I wish I could, just put in some habits which I'm having at the moment, back in the days, like in my past. So when I was chasing money, my focus was all about money. But I didn't develop myself much. Develop in the sense, in terms of real estate knowledge, yes, I know it in and out. In terms of dealing with people, connections, yes. So I've always been a people's person. But develop is the mindset. So the money was coming in, the market was good. Okay, let's chase money, let's just close deals. But now things have changed. So in my perspective, I think what I've learned is a couple of things. Again, first is never judge a book by its cover. So I meet a lot of people. If I go to see their dressing, they'll just wear a simple t-shirt and even shorts and the flip-flops. But what matters the most is when they sit on the table and they open their mouth. That's power, and that's where the real money is. So I think even that actually changed me a lot. So for me, like any other youngster back in the days, we would say that, okay, let's wear a 3-piece suit and Hermes and Gucci and Prada. And I think that would hold a lot of value. So we would put in these artificial stuffs on our body just to create that value, that I'm wearing a $10,000 assets on my body, and I think you should value me. But what next? So if you don't wear that, where is your value? Tomorrow, if you don't have money, where is your value? How are you going to regain yourself up? So I think real estate came in as a blessing for me. So when I started meeting a lot of billionaires and royal families, HNIs, humble people, I started seeing them and I'm like, wow, you're worth over $5 billion. But look at you, look at your approach, look at your dressing. It doesn't matter. And the same is my father. Dressing, if you want to put in a lot of expensive stuff on your body, that means you don't have an inner value for yourself. So I think this industry taught me that lesson, that never judge a book by its cover. The value does not remain here. The value remains what's inside you. So that was the most important lesson, which I think I learned, and still learning a lot more on that.
So what was your worst and best client experience during the period of your professional journey?
I don't think any of my clients wasted my time, because the way I look at things is it's in a bit different way. So yes, I do vet, I do qualify my clients, and not every client would invest with you, but they could be genuine. What I always do is I put this into practice, that any client I meet, any client I interact with, I show them around, let's say, for example, properties, luxury properties, and they don't end up buying through me. That is not a waste of time for me, because that brings me back to a question, that what went wrong, or what do I need to learn from this experience? So this comes in as an experience for me. Worst, if I say worst experience, that means I am being egoistic and not to learn from what's happening. Then I'm being very optimistic with every single client seeing a house from me and then they should buy from me. Then that's an unrealistic expectation I have. I've had many experiences like that where they will come around, they will meet me, but I always told myself that I want to keep my mind and my head down, cool and focused. It is fine if they don't buy from me. The world is huge. There's so many agents out there. So that actually made me go through a practice of gratitude. It's fine if they've not bought from me. At least they got in touch with me. But that's also a good thing. At least they know who I am in Dubai, if in the future. So when I let that energy go and when I convince myself that it is not negative, it is positive for me. You will not believe it, randomly I get a referral saying that, hey, you know what, you met John a few months back. He bought a property through some other agent, but then he told me about you. So I'm flying down to Dubai. Would you like to show me some houses? So, that energy, because if we have that experience and like, you know what, you wasted my time. You didn't buy from me. So we are putting that negative affirmation into the universe and telling that, I'm not grateful for even that little time he gave me, right? Clients have a God. You should always respect them. And same for us. If we go to buy a product in the market and if we get something cheaper, something better elsewhere, we would go there. We would not go to the previous vendor who he would be as nice as he could be as an individual, but we'll remember him. Okay, he gave all the knowledge. He shared everything possible about the market. I learned something from him and I bought something from somebody else. But you will never forget that person. So in my journey of my professional life, I always tend to actually aim at leaving a mark when I meet a client. So for me, that's very, very important, that you buy from me, don't buy from me. That's secondary. Money is secondary for me. My first thing is, will you remember me or not? Have I created or have I made you go through that experience of dealing with an agent? Because properties, let's say for example, one property is with 5,000 agents in the market, right? So he can go to any other agent. So I'm no different from any other agent out there or brokerage from out there. The only way I can feel that I'm different from any other broker out there is in my approach, is in my knowledge, is how I treat my clients, is a service I give to my clients. So I think overall worst experience, yes, I used to think, I had crazy experiences, these clients wasted my time. But over a period of time, I started being more grateful that they came and showed me or made me learn a new lesson. So in terms of worst, I could give that as an example. In terms of the best experience, so this experience I will never forget in my life. I mean, there are quite a lot, but I'll share this one, which was back in when I was 21 years old. So almost about 14 years ago. So I went to show a penthouse to a gentleman. I get a call as a Pakistani guy, and he says, hey, I want to see a penthouse, and I know you're a specialist of this particular area, and I want to meet you tomorrow morning. He spoke in Hindi. So I said, okay, we'll meet tomorrow at 11. So the property was with some other agent, and I had the buyer. So when we went to the penthouse, before going to the penthouse, we're waiting in the lobby for the client. So he comes in a Toyota, and I still remember that agent looked. He's like, okay. When is your client coming? It's already 11:30. I said, he should be on his way. Let's just wait. So the guy walks in and I said, Inder? I said, yeah, that's me. He said, this is Ali. We spoke on the phone for the penthouse. So I said, I'm glad you're here. Good to see you. So let's go up. So we went up, and while he's taking a walk around the penthouse, so the agent was like, hey, he's the same guy who came from a Toyota. You think he's going to buy this penthouse? And the penthouse back then was worth around $3 million. So I was like, listen, client, you have to respect, right? I cannot judge him by the car he came in. But I had a second thought, and I'm like, does he even have the money because he's coming in a Toyota? So young, right? Just newly joined in with few years of experience in sales. So I said, okay. So once we got done with the showing the penthouse, I get a call in the evening. He said, okay, I like the house. So final kitna hoega? So I said, that's the bottom price because I gave you, the owner wants to exit immediately. So I said, okay, done. Send me the agreement. And when I told the other agent, I said, send the agreement, he still could not believe it. So we did the agreement, everything was done. So when we went for the transfer, where the property can be transferred from the first owner to the second, to the buyer, he comes in a Lamborghini. And that's when the agent is like, oh, hello, Mr. Ali. And then I'm like, so are you respecting him because of the car you just saw? So that was a big lesson for me. And that gentleman is still in touch today. His family, his group, they still buy assets from me. And he did tell me that purposely I came in a cheap car so that you guys should believe that I don't have money and I can squeeze you on the price. So I was like, wow, that was a great lesson to learn. So yeah, I think that's the best memory that I'm glad that I didn't judge him. I did initially, yes. I went on a second thought, but I didn't change my treatment. But yeah, that was like a big hit for me, like never judge. So after that, I stopped judging the people in the cars when they come to see our houses.
So what's the main difference you feel in an employed journey and self-employed journey?
Employed journey was also quite interesting for me because I've worked in various companies. I was actually hired by a real estate company to be a broker, but then I was made to do all the pune jobs, make tea, get burgers, get this, serve the clients, stuff. I didn't really get much experience from that particular company. But in my thought, being self-employed and being employed for someone else, working for someone else, the biggest difference is when you have your own baby, your mindset works in a different way. Totally. So you keep evolving. Yes, you do that also, when you're working for someone. But the journey here is more aggressive than the journey here. Here is when you have your own company, right? Because when you put in your investment, you tend to think how you will keep on sustaining this, how you want to, probably expand this, to take this to another level. Then it's all about you. And in this particular zone, you don't get comfortable. I have friends who are working for a company, they're okay with a certain salary, and they're very, very comfortable. Here, you get comfortable once you achieve your targets. Yes, you enjoy the luxuries of life. But in my opinion, you always keep thinking, keep evolving, because it gets really competitive. And so does here. If you don't work well here, you get terminated from your employer, right? But in my opinion, I think being an entrepreneur, having your own baby, it's a total different, tough journey, but it's very, very interesting. It's again all about what's your vision, what's your goal you want to achieve in life. So if I would compare, in my group, and if I would see somebody having their own businesses and people working for someone, I see a huge difference. And I've lost all these people, by the way. I'm no more friends with them. It's been many, many years. The reason being why is because they are not able to visualize. They're not able to set goals, grow further in life. This is in my belief. Yes, certain companies, certain people might have grown to a certain stage, and that's where they are. But here, yes, you have a lot of troubles in terms of, you have to pay your expenses, you have to take care of the investments, grow, hiring, a lot of things will keep coming here. But if somebody's on a path of a learning journey, I think this plays a very important role. So any entrepreneurs looking to get into this this journey of work life, it is interesting by having a mindset. Yes, you will fall, you will fail, you will go zero, but you'll have the willpower, and it's always a learning journey. On this end, I don't feel that, because then you're just in that cocoon where you're very comfortable. Okay, a little bit, you get the appreciation letters, little raise in the salary and stuff. But for me, yeah, I can never think of going on a salaried job ever. I've been there, but now if I look back, no.
So how difficult and easy was it to start your entrepreneurship journey?
Very difficult, because I still remember that day where I was a top agent in a real estate company, and I resigned, and I came back home, and I told my dad, guess what? I resigned. He said, but you were earning so well. You're just 20 years old, and look at you. Why did you resign? It's such a big company. I said, big company, I don't see any growth. Though I was the youngest and I was under the CEO at that time, and I would call in a lot of shots for the company in terms of marketing, in terms of sale, prepare a lot of strategies. But again, I felt that though I could make in the next 2 years a little more money here than opening my own company, but in terms of learning and expanding down the line, let's say 5, 10 years, 15 years, I don't think so I'll be able to do that. So I need that flexibility. I need the luxury down the line, but I need to take a decision right now. So I went back home and I told my dad, I've got about $60,000, I still remember. Yeah, less than $60,000. And I said, I need to go and open an office. I need a trade license and I will open a company. So by the grace of God, he has always been very supportive. And he said, are you sure? You're just very, very young and just 24 and you just have a few years experience in real estate. Are you sure you'll be able to handle this? To set up the company and run an office. So I was never good in finance and accounting, by the way. So I was never a finance and accounting student. Though my father is pretty good at it. My brother, my cousins, so all of them are like finance student. I was into marketing. So they said, will you be able to manage the accounts and your sales, all these things? Now you're just doing sales because the company is managing everything. But if you open yours, you'll have to take care of all of these things. So think about it, because then you'll have to lose your friends. There are a lot of things behind opening a company. So I said, okay. I said, yes, I want to go ahead. I want to do it. So I invested that money. He said, listen, this you've earned in the last few years. Are you sure? I will not pay you anything. So I said, yes, I will take everything out from the bank. I will go. I will start my company. I did that. I still remember I was sitting alone. So it's still the same office, 1,000 square foot. I was sitting alone, and my dad, my parents, my brother, all of them walk in, and they're like, how does it feel? I said, it's very challenging. I'm kind of scared, but I think I've taken the steps, so I will go ahead. I will not look back. And then so I started hiring people, started learning about IT, the websites, the marketing, further into sales. It was a great start, I would say. Tough, yes, because I had to take a decision and I had to put my hard-earned money for the past few years. I've been doing it. So it was very, very difficult for me. When I started it, yes, I think it was a great, great feeling. But again, post starting that with a lot of experience down the line also, I did face a lot of challenges, lots of ups and downs, in my life, in my work life. But yeah, overall has been a great journey.
So how do you motivate yourself daily?
The best way of motivating myself is just to be grateful, to be thankful for everything I have, because I think that's how the law of universe works. When you are content, when you are content in the sense to be grateful, but always look for achieving a lot more higher. Never settle for less. If you want luxury, there's nothing bad in working hard for luxury. If you want good cars, there's nothing bad in that. If you want to travel the world, great. You want to spend life, you want to wear brands, there's nothing wrong in that, in my opinion, right? But that only happens when you start feeling grateful for what you already have. Because when you are happy, when you're grateful, when you're contented, you tend to attract a lot more. But if we have, let's say for example, 2 cars, and then we said, no, I think what I have right now, it's horrible. I need to get that one that's a lot more better. Everybody wants that. But when we start feeling that at least I have a car, if we look below, the guy doesn't have a bike or a cycle, at least we have a car, we're going on the AC. So when you start having that mindset, I think everything starts attracting towards you.
So what all services do you provide in RK Properties Dubai, and how do any person contact you?
We are a brokerage firm, a luxury boutique brokerage firm. We do buying and selling. So I play a role as an investment advisor, whereby I help people to invest in Dubai, the time to exit, the time to invest, where not to invest, which developers to go through, the history of the developers. So with my vast knowledge of 15 years of real estate just in Dubai, I know history of a lot of developers. I know how the market trend also goes. When it's inflated, when to stop, when not to buy, and when is the right time to buy. So we basically help clients to set their short-term goal of investment into real estate and long-term goal as well.
So your company has won many awards. What's the secret behind this?
Yeah. Just to be motivated and never look at a competitor. So the secret behind that is I always focused on myself and my team if we are better than yesterday. So if we go to look at the competition outside, then you will never be content, you will never be happy, you will only dwell down in stress. Oh, he's better than me, he's better than me, he's better than me. So I think that's a general human tendency where we always look at others. They say, right, the grass is always greener on the other side. Okay, fine, it's greener. But you need to look at your soil and how can you make that more greener. That's more important. So what we do with our team is we always, so no targets. I don't give targets to my team. No pressure, no stress. If somebody's taking pressure, somebody's taking stress, please leave me. It's as simple as that. So I think we've kept that environment in the company where we only seek happiness. So my focus with my team players is, are you enjoying what you're doing? If so, amazing. We will excel no matter what. But if you're not enjoying what you're doing, I don't think so we can excel. So yes, the other person closed 10 deals and we didn't close. No, that means we as a company, as an individual, need to grow. We need to look what aspect of what particular category we need to focus on in terms of our growth. Not because what the competitor is doing, but what we can do as an individual. So can we read books? Can we do different activities to learn more? How do we gain experience and how do we get better from who we were yesterday? So once that happens, once we start taking that step and once we have that mindset, I think anybody can excel automatically. Yes, you have to work hard, but now it's hard plus smart. It's just not hard. So I have a lot of people, my competitors, and when we just have a general chat with the employees of that company, they're like, oh, we're working 12 hours and you guys are just working 8 hours or even 6 hours. Oh, are you guys not working on the weekend? No, we don't work on the weekends. We have a life. So the ultimate focus is, yes, secondary, not ultimate, secondary is money. But most importantly is we as a company, how happy we are. Because I'll tell you why I'm repeating that particular word happy is when you have that energy, when you set that environment, you give that energy to your customers or to anyone you're dealing with. Nobody wants to deal with somebody, oh, you know what, I have target. And then that unconsciously you'll be pushing the customer. You need to buy now, otherwise it's going to get sold. We never say that. We never do that. Even though I know it's the last unit, I never use that phrase. If you don't buy it now, it's going to get sold. Never. Because that just goes to show that I am in that stressful position to have that closure. So we as a team, we set certain values or certain way of conducting our business is when you're happy, when you're content in the mind, you can easily communicate with anyone. Everybody likes happy people. So especially when we meet somebody outside, if we're happy, not necessarily business, we can talk about a lot of more other things, families and kids and activities and more about Dubai. And that's how you build a relation. When you build a relation, you don't need to stress. They will come and buy from you automatically. So I think it's the whole process as to how the selling goes. It's just not you get a product, you get a knowledge and start selling. No. It's the whole process of building that relation. I'll give you an example. So I've been dealing with this gentleman for the past 3 years. And 2.5 years. We've met a couple of times. I've flown down to his country. He's come down here. I only focused on how I could build my relationship more stronger with him, his family, and his kids. I never ever counter questioned him that we've met so many times. Why are you not buying from me? Never. Though he knows that I'm in that business. That's how we actually initially got connected for a property inquiry. But I never ever asked him that question. 2.5 years down the line, now our total relationship years is 3 years. He comes to me and said, listen, I think I've now made up my mind post-COVID. I want to buy a property. I said, amazing. Wow. So whenever you're in Dubai, just let me know. He comes down and buys one of the most expensive assets from us. So for me, I was like, what made more value? It's the relation. He said, okay, so I've got 4 options. Which one do you suggest? So we had the most expensive, then the third, then the second. I said, no need to buy that one. I think we can go for this one. So I said, okay, now that we have the relation and I know who you are, I think whatever you say makes sense. Let's go ahead. I believe in your judgment. Of course, he did his due diligence as well. But I think that relationship, that patience, the happiness, I think made a lot of difference. Because whenever we would meet, I would never be stressed like, why are you not buying right now? The market is hot. Because that's what the other agents would pressurize him to do so. And in fact, he would even call me and said, hey, listen, you know what? The other agent called me up and he said, there's an amazing offer. I said, it could be, but in my opinion, it's not an amazing offer. But hey, you know, if he's offered you, why don't you go and buy it? It's amazing. I mean, if you like it, then why not? He said, no, leave it. So I never pressured him and said, hey, no, I have the same. Why don't you buy from me? No, never. So I think it's a process of dealing with, people. Because when I say I'm a people's person, it's easy to sell, but it's difficult to build a relationship. So what is your goal? Long-term or short-term? If it's short-term, then focus only on quick sell. Get the money and you're out. But if it's long-term, relationship is the only thing which can help you succeed. If you don't succeed now, 5 years, 6 years, 7 years, 10 years, maybe the 15th year you will succeed and you'll outpass all the other competitors. So I think one needs to decide if it's a short-term goal or long-term goal, because when markets get really dynamic, money gets bigger, people want to cash in fast and just move. So that's a short term. We don't believe in short terms.
So what all are do's and don'ts you would suggest while starting your journey?
Don't focus on what the competitor is doing. Yes, it's important to study the market. It's very important to understand who are the players in the market. But when you have decided to take a step in that particular segment as an entrepreneur, then the only thing is you got to focus on yourself. Don't is never compare yourself with others, because the day you start doing that, that's the day of your downfall. Because the moment you say, oh, I think he's doing better than me, oh, I don't have this, that means you're attracting the law of negative energy. So there's a book called The Secret, which I've been following for the past 15 years. And it's very, very powerful. Any entrepreneur joining it, starting the entrepreneur journey, I would strongly suggest to read that book first, because it's very important to have a very clear mindset. So the don'ts is never compare yourself, never complain. And I think that's, for me, these two are the most important, because when you have categorized these two as the most important, then you start reflecting on the positive aspects of life. Do's is, yes, of course, do your due diligence, market research, proper study as to where you're getting in. And the other important thing I would say to a young entrepreneur is knowledge. Relationship is very, very important. Knowledge, not in terms of your product. That's only this much. But knowledge is when you start reading a lot of books, when you start meeting people who are a lot more experienced and much above you, keep the ego aside, sit down with them, act stupid, act dumb. You don't know anything. That's the best way to learn. So in a lot of meetings when I go, I do get that a lot, and they tell me sometimes you go quiet when these guys are talking. So I said, yeah, it's better to be quiet. Sometimes you have to act dumb, that you don't know nothing, and learn as to how they're interacting and what they're saying. So it's important to learn. And yes, okay, one thing which I can tell you is helped me a lot in this 20 years of my journey is my friend circle. So if your friend circle are the type of people who are like, yeah, mere paas ye nahi hai, yaar, ye nahi ho raha hai, just cribbing about life, negative gossips, get away from them. You need to surround yourself with positive people, because that's how your mind is start going to evolve. So I had to give up on one of my friends. I had a friendship with my friend for about 7 years. We were very, very thick. But I started realizing that my friend would only talk about how that person doesn't have cars or luxury or the brands. And I started feeling that I'm not going to learn anything from that person. So I really, with a heavy heart, had to give up on our friendship. And I said, I'm really sorry, but I don't think I can hang out with you. So when somebody gets into this journey, most important, for me, that's the top. Who you interact with, who you surround yourself with. That's very, very, very important, because that's going to build your network. So if you're surrounded with positive people, if you're surrounded with people who are high achievers, you're surrounded with people who are only aiming at the best and the best and the best. In any industry, I'm not just saying has to be from that particular industry per se. Can be from any other industry. But if you surround yourself with people who are always learning, always positive, always aggressive in terms of what's new, I gotta learn, I gotta push myself up, you will learn a lot from such people. And that will always keep your energy positive. That will always keep you, revived, always keep you going. So get away from people who are energy drainers, I call them, who will keep pulling you down, and surround yourself with people who are very, very positive. That makes a lot of difference.
Advice you would like to young generation who want to join real estate, basically?
Anybody who wish to join real estate in any part of the world, firstly is you need to know if that's your passion or not. So if that's your passion, don't focus on closing a deal. Focus more on how you can develop a knowledge. There are two types of buyers. One, you have end user, and the other you have the investor. The ultimate goal is the investor, because that's the guy who's going to keep buying and selling and help you grow further in life. End user will come and buy a house and be in that house for the next 10 years, 15 years. These are also important, and they're also important. But the investors, they love to deal with people who are a lot more knowledgeable. So when you're knowledgeable, you will be able to connect a lot with them. Because remember, your advice, based on your advice, they'll be putting their money. You're not going to put your money. So how are they going to believe in you as to where they should put their money? It's only when you have the knowledge. So knowledge comes in when you have the passion. So if you have the passion for this industry, study every single project, even if that doesn't benefit you. So as a practice, what I do is if there's any new launches in Dubai, we have, I could say, launch every week. My second focus is yes to sell, but my first focus is to study the project, the structure, what's the floor plate, the location. So let's say if there's a tower on the waterfront and there's a tower right next to it, why this one is expensive, why this one is cheap. So we as a broker, we get a few weeks before the launch. So I always make sure that I study, I focus a lot on my knowledge. Because when I start speaking to clients, because there'll be 1,000 agents who'll be pitching him, sir, we have this new launch coming up, you need to buy, it's amazing, it's an amazing developer. But nobody will tell him that, hey, listen, hold on, this is 80% more expensive than this one. What is your intention to buy? Why do you want to buy here? This is going to be ready after 3 years. So when you have that knowledge, it helps investors to understand better. When they understand better, they develop a relationship with you. Which means in the longer period, if you have an asset which you want to sell, Mr. Raju, I have a property, bahut hi hai, I think you should buy this. Okay, let's go. Then it becomes a lot more easier. But at the initial stage, it's very, very difficult because that's the knowledge building, relationship building period. So if your goal is ultimate long term, you want to be in this industry for a long term period, then focus on only that. Everything else will follow, especially in real estate, because we meet people who are billionaires, and different walks of life. Don't judge a book by its cover. That's very, 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 very important. I've learned the hard way. So anybody joining this industry, don't judge a book by its cover.
So now we'll start our rapid round.
Yeah.
Your favorite actor and actress?
My favorite actor, Amir Khan. First Amir Khan, Ranveer Singh. Actress is Alia Bhatt.
Your favorite color?
Sky blue.
Your favorite destination?
Mexico.
So now if you want to choose one thing to achieve success, which is smart work, hard work and luck, which would you choose?
Well, all are interlinked, but smart is also important. Yeah, so I will go with smart.
Your favorite car?
Rolls Royce and G63.
Your dream house?
My dream house, it's a villa by the beach.
Second choice of career?
No second choice. But yeah, I used to be a fashionista, so I used to be very, very passionate about making clothes, dressing up. But yeah, there's no second choice of my career. I do this and I die with this.
At last, one line that defines you.
Growth is humble.
So thank you very much for your time, and it was a pleasure talking to you, and best of luck for your venture.
Thank you very much. Same here, and thank you for having me here.
Thank you very much. Thanks for watching Amazing Mentor. Don't forget to subscribe and hit the bell button to get regular updates. Thank you very much.